T-84 Oplot-T tank shows how foldable anti-drone mesh reflects the global impact of drone warfare. A T-84 Oplot-T main battle tank has appeared with foldable overhead anti-drone mesh protection in imagery circulating on social media, highlighting how the growing threat from FPV drones is reshaping armored warfare well beyond the battlefields of Ukraine. As reported on July 29, 2026, the imagery remains unverified, and the Royal Thai Army has issued no official confirmation. However, the apparent modification suggests that Thailand may be evaluating practical ways to improve tank survivability against increasingly common top-attack threats. The visible configuration features a foldable wire mesh canopy mounted above the turret, creating a standoff barrier intended to disrupt or prematurely detonate drone-delivered munitions before they strike the tank's roof. If adopted more widely, the concept would reflect the broader shift toward layered armored protection, combining physical defenses with camouflage, electronic warfare, and counter-drone capabilities to preserve combat effectiveness in an increasingly contested low-altitude battle space. On July 29, 2026, renewed attention on social media focused on imagery appearing to show Royal Thai Army Oplot-T main battle tanks fitted with folding overhead mesh protection. The configuration may indicate that Thailand is examining practical lessons from the Russo-Ukrainian War as inexpensive FPV drones increasingly threaten armored vehicles from above. The available open-source trail appears most probably connected to the defense-focused X account Withy11, although the original source, date, and circumstances of the image remain unconfirmed. No official statement from Thailand's Ministry of Defense or the Royal Thai Army has confirmed the modification, its operational status, or the number of vehicles involved. Open-source analysis of the image indicates that at least one Ukrainian-made Oplot-T main battle tank has been fitted with a previously undocumented elevated protective structure above its turret, apparently combining a wire mesh canopy, lightweight tubular steel framing, hinged attachment points, and angled support braces in a foldable configuration designed to preserve access for transport, maintenance, or crew operations. However, the imagery does not establish the system's official designation, manufacturer, material specifications, tested effectiveness, or operational status, and it remains unclear whether the modification is part of a formal Royal Thai Army program, a limited trial, or a locally developed unit-level adaptation. The image should therefore be treated as credible evidence of an apparent configuration on a single tank, not as confirmation of a standardized or fleet-wide upgrade. The vehicles can reasonably be identified as Ukrainian-made T-84 Oplot-T main battle tanks, a Thai export configuration derived from the Oplot family. Thailand contracted for 49 Oplot tanks from Ukraine, with Ukrainian authorities reporting that the supply agreement had been completed during the first quarter of 2018. The continued appearance of these tanks in Thai service makes any apparent survivability modification operationally noteworthy, particularly as armies worldwide reconsider how heavily armored vehicles should operate under persistent aerial observation and attack. The most distinctive feature visible in the circulating image is the apparent folding overhead anti-drone screen mounted above the turret. The structure appears to provide broad roof coverage while remaining collapsible for transport, maintenance, and operations in restricted terrain. Hinged steel supports seem to allow the framework to be lowered when required, reducing the vehicle's overall height and potentially simplifying movement beneath bridges, through vegetation, or aboard rail transporters. Angled braces appear to reinforce the assembly, while preserving its ability to fold. A wire mesh canopy is suspended above the turret rather than being installed directly against the roof. This elevated arrangement creates a standoff gap intended to place a physical barrier between an approaching aerial threat and the tank's original armor. The framework appears to extend forward and along the sides of the turret, increasing coverage of exposed roof surfaces while attempting to preserve the traverse of the main gun. Its tubular construction suggests an effort to balance additional protection with limited weight, although the exact mass and its effect on turret handling cannot be determined from the image. The apparently modular layout could allow damaged mesh panels or frame sections to be removed and replaced without major alterations to the tank. Such a design would be particularly useful if the structure is regarded as an expendable protective component expected to absorb, disrupt, or become damaged during an attack. The folding arrangement may also preserve access to turret hatches, sights, antennas, and onboard equipment during maintenance. Nevertheless, it remains unclear whether crews can open every hatch normally while the screen is raised or whether sections must first be folded away. The probable purpose of the elevated mesh is to create a standoff interception barrier against FPV drones, commercially derived quadcopters carrying explosive charges, and other unmanned aerial threats approaching the turret from above. Depending on the attack angle and payload, the screen could entangle a drone, damage its propellers, disturb its terminal approach, or cause its warhead to detonate before reaching the turret roof. It could also obstruct grenades or other munitions released vertically over crew hatches, optical systems, and thinner upper armor. Its protective value should not be overstated. A folding mesh screen cannot be assumed to defeat every type of drone or top-attack munition. Effectiveness would depend on the density and strength of the mesh, the standoff distance, the rigidity of the supports, the direction of attack, and the type of warhead carried by the drone. FPV aircraft equipped with optimized shaped charge payloads could still penetrate the barrier, strike around its edges, or target less protected areas such as the engine deck, turret rear, and hull roof. Repeated attacks could progressively damage or remove sections of the structure. The modification could also introduce operational disadvantages. An elevated frame increases the vehicle's visual profile and may catch vegetation, cables, or debris. It could restrict the commander's visibility, complicate the use of roof-mounted weapons, and interfere with antennas, sensors, or emergency evacuation unless carefully engineered. The folding mechanism may represent an attempt to manage these limitations by allowing the crew to lower or partially remove the protection according to the mission and threat environment. This makes the apparent tie design more significant than a simple fixed barrier because it suggests an effort to reconcile drone protection with the logistical and ergonomic requirements of routine armored operations. The apparent Oplot-T modification would place Thailand within an expanding group of armed forces examining relatively inexpensive counter-drone measures derived from battlefield experience in Ukraine. Army recognition has previously reported that Taiwan used irregular camouflage netting around its M1A2T Abrams tanks to break up recognizable shapes and complicate aerial detection. Unlike a metal interception screen, Taiwan's approach focuses primarily on reducing visual signature and slowing identification by drone operators or automated recognition systems. South Korea has tested overhead cage structures on K-2 Black Panther tanks during live-fire training, with visible standoff protection installed above the turret while retaining openings for weapons and sensors. France evaluated a Leclerc XLR fitted with an experimental anti-drone and anti-mine protection package during Franco-Swiss live-fire exercises, while Argentina displayed TAM tanks with turret-top cages during military training in October 2025. These cases demonstrate that overhead protection is no longer limited to improvised wartime modifications and is increasingly being examined by established armored forces under controlled training conditions. Other examples highlight the movement toward layered protection. Russia's modernized BMD-2M Bereg vehicles have been presented with overhead mesh, external cage armor, and electronic warfare equipment, combining physical barriers with measures intended to disrupt drone control or navigation links. In Ukraine, a Leopard 1A5 reportedly survived 52 FPV and Molniya drone strikes during a day of attacks while operating within a layered defensive arrangement involving a turret cage, camouflage, prepared positions, chain-link barriers, additional armor, and crew adaptations. The reported case does not establish a universal level of protection, but it illustrates why no single cage or mesh screen should be considered sufficient on its own. For the Royal Thai Army, a folding system could offer a comparatively low-cost and field-adaptable method of testing overhead protection without undertaking a comprehensive redesign of the Oplot-T. It may also function as an interim measure while more advanced counter-unmanned aerial systems, electronic countermeasures, or active protection technologies continue to mature. The circulating image does not prove that Thailand has adopted such a system across its Oplot-T fleet, but it may indicate that Thai armored units are studying how conventional tanks must operate in an environment where small drones can conduct reconnaissance, adjust artillery fire, and attack vulnerable roof surfaces. The circulating image provides a plausible indication that Thailand is exploring foldable anti-drone protection for its Oplot-T main battle tanks, but it remains unverified open-source evidence rather than an officially confirmed capability. The apparent design is notable because it seeks to combine broad overhead coverage with modular construction, reduced weight, crew access, and the ability to fold the structure for transport or maintenance. The more important development is not the mesh screen alone, but the operational thinking it may represent. Modern tanks are unlikely to preserve survivability through armor thickness and firepower alone. Protection increasingly requires a layered combination of overhead barriers, camouflage, electronic warfare, drone detection, short-range air defense, prepared positions, and adaptable crew procedures. Should the configuration eventually be confirmed and standardized, it would suggest that the Royal Thai Army is translating the lessons of drone-intensive warfare into a practical effort to preserve armored combat power. The decisive question is therefore not whether an overhead screen can stop every drone, but whether Thailand is beginning to reorganize tank survivability around a permanently contested low-altitude air environment.